Hey, it's Coping Skill Tuesday, and today I want to talk to you about doodling and coloring, and I have my tools here. What is it? It's essentially a distraction technique and a great way to practice mindfulness. So, doodling is the act of putting pen to pencil and creating lines, flowers, pictures, fonts, anything. It's just putting pen or pencil to paper and just creating. Coloring is the act of filling in space with color. Let's talk about the obstacles to engaging with the coping skill. I think there's three main obstacles: perfectionism, finding something satisfying, and accumulating tools. All right, let's talk about overcoming those obstacles. So for perfectionism, I think just like yoga, coloring and doodling is a great way for me to meet myself on the page. It allows me the opportunity to practice my thoughts of overcoming perfectionism in a way that helps me remove myself from it. So coloring can remove some of the thoughts I have about myself, so that way I can practice the process of challenging my thoughts on perfectionism. I have really fallen in love with this postcard book of that I get to color in the postcards and then send them, and they're amazing. They're really cool postcards that I really enjoy, and because they're so detailed, it does feel like sometimes I have to be perfectionistic about it. And I have to challenge those thoughts. It requires me to sit down and invest myself in it, and those thoughts will come up like, no, this needs to be the perfect shade of green, or I need to make sure that, none of the pink is touching other pink. And those thoughts will come up, and because they're not about myself, they're about something else, I can kind of be able to step back and say, hey, so pink touches pink. No big deal. So, another obstacle is finding something satisfying. It's not necessarily the most satisfying to take the back of a receipt and a random pencil and doodling on it. It can be helpful for an in-the-moment distraction if that's all you have. It can work. It's not going to last a long time, and it's going to be difficult to engage in the long term. So it takes some time and to really find something that's satisfying. So for me, recently, something that have found that is satisfying are these postcards by Joanna Basford. She's an illustrator out of the UK, and she's created this awesome coloring book, which I also bought because I had to. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Like, look at this amazingness happening on the screen. Yep. I love this. It's something that's engaging for me, and it's satisfying because it's just so detailed. So then that brings me to the accumulation of tools. This is barely scratching the surface of my art, my crafts, arts and crafts, like tools. I love the art store. So I love going to arts stores and art supply stores and buying colored pencils and crayons and pens. Like, I have so many different kind of pens. I mean, I love Pilot G2 pens, like super fine, but I also really enjoy my Staedtler pens. These are great. I mean, so much so that I have my travel pack. I have erasable colored pencils. I have a lot of Crayola stuff. I also have a lot of art supply, great quality pastels. I have Sharpies. I have everything because it's important to me to be able to use something that I want that is satisfying in the moment. So that being said, it's $1 to go buy a box of Crayola crayons, a small box. It might be another $1 to go get a coloring book, and that might be a lot for somebody to go and get coloring book and crayons because it might require them to use their car, it might require them to utilize public transit, and it might also require them to get out of the house, and that's a cost that can be really hard on somebody who's really struggling and needs this coping skill. So, Amazon is a great resource for those things as well, to get something cheap, and you can also buy in bulk, so you can get more colors for you get better bang for your buck. So those are some thoughts. It takes time though. In the meantime, grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, newspaper, whatever. A really fun one is to grab a newspaper and start crossing off words and picking out letters and stuff. That's a great doodling activity as well. Let's talk about in the moment. Something I do or have been doing recently is setting aside time before I eat or after I eat. I set my timer for 20 minutes and color. So that, one, it's just so pretty, but also the timing aspect is important. I've set aside the time, so I know that I have the time, but I also am setting a timer, which is the specifically important aspect of this. Setting a timer for 20 minutes means I'm not going to lose track of time, so I can really invest myself and get lost in the moment of being mindful with my coloring. I can let my mind really tune in and tune out, tune into the coloring and tune out from the world for that specific amount of time. And that's really helpful because when the perfectionism comes up, I'm not then allowing that to overgeneralize to being perfectionistic about time or food or whatever might be coming up. I can just have that thought and say, I'm coloring right now. I'll get back to it later. Rating the coping skill. Ease to engaging, definitely a 5. It can be as simple as grabbing the back of a receipt and a pencil to just doodle for a little while. Although it may not work in the long term or something that you may want to return to, in the moment can be really great. So it's definitely a skill that can be available at any moment, and it's really easy to grab onto. Overcoming obstacles, it's a 4. I feel like the one obstacle that can definitely be most challenging is the perfectionism, and that can kind of be something that takes time to overcome, and so I give it a 4. Availability, it's a 5. It is something that is right there, available, and as you accumulate tools, it's easier and easier. So doodling, just doodle away. What kind of day? It's definitely not something that I can use on my worst day. Can I use it on a hard day, a difficult day? Sure. So that's why I give it a 4. I just can't use it on my most difficult day. The anxiety that comes with that, the panic. This tool is something that requires me to have practice for a while, and it can lead to being better off on my hardest day eventually. It's just not something that I can't be like, I'm having the hardest day of my life, I'm gonna go doodle. I'm gonna be too distracted to use this distraction technique. So that makes it an average of 4.5. It's a great coping skill. I highly recommend grabbing these Secret Garden coloring books. Super fun. Maybe just grabbing a pad of paper and a pencil you really enjoy, or a pen. Doodling is something that I love. So yeah, that's it. Talk to you all later.